Good morning. So today we have started algebra and we're going to look at how we can make rules and what rules mean and why in algebra the term rules is quite important. So let's have a look at this here. Okay, it says every child is wearing a pair of gloves. Now I know a pair of gloves would be two gloves because a pair means two. So if I have one child, let's take this child here, I've got one child, how many gloves, sorry, have I got? So if I've just got this one child, that means there are two gloves because he has a pair of gloves. And in a pair, there are two. So if there's one child, there would only be two gloves. So I'm just going to type the number in there. If I have two children, so I have 1, 2, how many gloves have I got now? Let's count together. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 gloves. So I'm going to put the number 4 in there because every child has 2 gloves. Now let's have a look at this one here. Now I've got 3. The number of children is 3. So I'm just going to bring another child across. I've got 3 children. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gloves. Now I'd like you to pause the video here and I'd like you to think about how many gloves I will have when I've got 4 children. Okay, so you should have paused your video and let's have a little look together. I'm going to first of all look at what relationship there is between the number of children and the number of gloves. So for every child, there are 2 gloves. I have 2 times the amount of gloves than there are children. So if I have 1 child, there are 2 gloves. If I have 2 children, there are 4 gloves. And if there are 3 children, there are 6 gloves. So my rule here, the rule that I will follow is that let me just see if I can sort this arrow out. There we go. So my rule here is that I am going to be multiplying by 2. You can see that so far the bottom number has been double the top number. Just want to get that arrow exactly how I'd like it. There we go. So you can see that I have times by 2. So I'm going to get my pen out now and I'm going to write times 2. I multiply the amount of children I have by 2 so I know how many gloves there will be. And let me just check that that rule works again. So if I have 2, that isn't how I wanted it to go. Let's try again. It's going to go in the boxes. So if I have 2, if I do 2 times 4, 2 times 2, I get 4. Maybe I can draw it. There we go. That's better. Times by 2. Now let's have a look at the number 3 and let's see if that rule works again. 3 times 2 is 6. We know because we know how to times by 2. Let's see if it works for the number 4 then. So this time I'm going to do 4 and I'm going to be timesing it by 2. I'm going to use my rule and my rule is times 2. And 4 times 2 is 8. And now I'm going to just check. I've got 4 children. 1, 2, 3, 4 children. And let's see how many gloves I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So does my rule work? Yes, I have 8 gloves. So my rule is to multiply by 2. However many number of children I've got, I multiply that by 2 to find out how many pairs of gloves I have. Now this number is 8. I'd like you to pause your video here and have a go at telling me how many gloves there will be if there are 8 children. Lovely, well done. So you should have done 8 and we're going to times by 2. And the reason we are multiplying by 2 is because that is our rule. And if I do 8 times 2, I get 16. Let's have a look at this one here. If you'd like to pause the video and carry on the chart, see what 2 answers you get. Okay, so let's have a look together. 10, and I need to multiply it by 2 because that is my rule, and I will get the answer 20 because 2 times 10, or 10 times 2, is 20. If I've got 10 children and they've each got 2 gloves, I've got 10 lots of 2. I've got 10 lots of 2 gloves. So 10 times 2 is 20. And let's do the last one together. 12 times 2 is 24. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. Each car has 4 wheels. So the number of cars is along the top. I've got 1 car, 2, 3, 6, 8, 10, and 12 cars. And you need to work out the amount of wheels. So if I've got 1 car, here's my 1 car, and there are 4. And I'm just going to write the number 4 here. There are 4 wheels on 1 car. So my 4 can go in here. Now, what about if I have 2 cars then? Let's have a look. That's got 4 wheels and that's got 4 wheels. So together, how many wheels will I have? Because I know there are 4 there and there are 4 there. So now I've got 2 lots of 4 wheels. And 2 lots of 4 wheels would give me 8. I'd like you to now pause the video and have a little go at working out what the rule might be for finding the amount of wheels. Okay, so let's have a look at what we've done so far. I can see here that I've got 2 groups, and in each group I've got 4. So if I've got groups of 4, I know that I must be multiplying, and I'm multiplying by 4. So I'm going to times this by 4. 1 times 4 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. Let's have a go at doing this one here. 3 times 4. If you'd like to pause your video and have a little go at that yourself. Okay, so 3 times 4. So I have another group of 4. So now I've got 3 groups of 4. 4, 8, 12. So your answer should be 12. My rule here is to multiply by 4. It doesn't matter how many cars I have. To find the number of wheels, I must times by 4. So if I have 6 cars, I will need to multiply 6 by 4. I'd like you to pause the video and have a little go at finishing this chart. Okay, so each time you are multiplying by 4. So 6 times 4. Six times 4 is 24. So a mistake that some people might have made is Instead of putting the number 24 in here, they may have just added 4 onto 12 and put the number 16. But that would not have been correct, because 16 wheels would be if I had 4 cars. Here I've got 6 cars. So we must read the number of cars very carefully, and we can't assume that the number of cars is going up by 1 each time. So now I've got 8 cars, and I'm going to multiply 8 again by 4. And again, I'm not just adding 4 on to my previous number. I'm going to do 8 lots of 4, which is of course 32. And then I've got 10 groups of 4, which is 40. And I've got 12 groups of 4, which is 48. So I'm not just adding 4 each time, I am multiplying the number of cars by the amount of wheels each car has. And each car has 4 wheels. So I'm multiplying the number of cars by 4. Let's have a little look at this one. Now, the numbers that I'm putting in, they're my input numbers. So 13 is my input number, and I add 5 to that. So let's have a look at what my answer would be. If you've got 13 and you add 5, now I know that 3 and 5 make 8, and I've got my 10, so 18. I don't have an input number here, but I do have an output number. So I started with a number, but I don't know what that number is yet. I've multiplied that number by 5, and I've got the number 20. I'm going to have to work backwards and do the inverse. So if you've got the number 20, what do you multiply by 5 to get the number 20? How many groups of 5 do you need to get 20? So here I'm now going to divide by 5. I need to do the opposite here. I need to do the inverse. So I need to do 20 and I need to divide it by 5 to get my input number. And 20 divided by 5 is 4. So my input number would have been 4. And now I would like to just double check it just to make sure. 4 times 5 is 20. 18 take away 6 is what? So we have to count back from 18, and 18 take away 6 will get you 12. And again here, I haven't got my input number, but I do have my output number. I had a number, but I don't know what it is, and I divided it by 4 to get the number 6. So again, I need to work backwards, and when I work backwards, I'm going to need to do the inverse, and the inverse to divide is multiply. So I need to do 6 multiplied by 4. 6 lots of 4, or 6 times 4. And 6 times 4 is 24. You can use some different strategies if you're not sure about your multiplication. You can either count up, you could count up in 6s or count up in 4s, or you could draw it out if you felt you needed to. Okay, let's have a look at this one here. I've got my input numbers and I've got my output numbers, but I don't know what I've done. So whatever I've done to 3 to get 5, I've also done to 7 to get 9, and I've done to 8 to get 10. My rule is the same for each set of numbers. I'd like you to pause the video and think about what rule I have used. Okay, so if I've got 3 and then I get to 5, I know I'm not subtracting and I know I'm not dividing, because my number wouldn't be greater. So now I need to think about whether it's addition or multiplication. don't think there's anything I can multiply 3 by to get 5. And by anything, I mean a whole number. We're only working with whole numbers here, okay? So is there a whole number that I can multiply 3 by to get 5? I don't think there is, so I must be adding. So what is the difference between 3 and 5? What have I added to 3 to get 5? So my answer is 2. So I'm going to say my rule is add 2. But before I commit to that answer, I must check it works for all of them. 3 add 2 is 5. 7 add 2. 7 in my head, 7, 8, 9. Yep, that's correct. 8 in my head, 8, 9, 10. Yes, that's correct. So I know that my rule for this set of input and output numbers is +2. Let's have a look at this one. What am I doing this time? I'd like you to pause the video and see if you can find out for yourselves. Okay, so again, I'm not subtracting and I'm not dividing because we are only looking at positive whole numbers, okay? And I know that my number has got bigger. I put it in and my number's got bigger. So I'm either adding or I'm multiplying. So what do I add to 3 to get 15? I add 12. So I'm going to put that in there. 3 add 12 is 15. Let's see if that rule works for the other sets of numbers. I don't want to make a mistake by just assuming that that is correct. So I've got 7, add 12. Does that make 35? Nope. So that rule cannot be correct. So therefore, it cannot be add. So now I'm going to think about what I can multiply. So what can I multiply 3 by to get 15? I can multiply it by 5. Does that rule work for all of my numbers? 7 times 5 is 35. 8 times 5 is 40. Yes, that rule works for all of my sets of numbers. So I know that that rule is the right rule. I hope you noticed that I didn't just do the first one and leave it there. I checked every single set of numbers. Okay, your job then is to do this sheet. So let's have a look together at the sheet. Whitney makes a pattern of triangles using sticks. Complete the table below. You've got your number of triangles along the top and then the number of sticks. In her first triangle, she's used 3 sticks. In every triangle, she will use 3 sticks. So in the first triangle, she's got 3 sticks. Then you need to look at how many she will use in 2 triangles. Can you think of the rule that she's using? Now let's have a look at number 2. To find the number of wheels, you multiply the number of bicycles by 2. We've got number of bikes and number of wheels, and each bike has got 2 wheels. So you're going to have a go at completing this, but this is a bit tricky because here I've been told the number of wheels and I know that the number of wheels is 18. So how many bikes would that be if you've got 18 wheels? Now, if you're not quite sure, you could always have a little go at thinking, okay, there are 2 wheels and that's 1 bike. There are another 2 wheels and that's another bike. So you could have a go at drawing that out if you're not quite sure. Then we've got number of ants and number of legs. Have a look at where you've got 2 numbers. You've got 2 and 12. See if you can figure out the rule. What do I do to 12? What do I do to 2, sorry, to get 12? What are you multiplying by? And then once you've figured out your rule, you need to fill in the missing parts of that chart. Your next activity will be to calculate the outputs for the function machines below, just like the function machines we did together. So here you've got 50 And I'm just going to make it a bit larger because I believe, is that add or is, just need to make it a little bit bigger so I can see the sign. It looks like an addition to me. Okay. Sometimes if it's too small, an addition and a division can look quite similar. So you've got 50, that's what you're putting in. You're adding 5 and you will need to write your output. You can see here you've got a multiplication, you've got a subtraction, and you've got a division. Okay? And then for the next part of that question, you've got the outputs, but you need to find the inputs. So you're going to need to do the opposite. You're going to need to do the inverse to find out which number you started with. Then you need to find the rules, write the missing functions in the function machine. So you need to find the rules there. Once you've done that, you can have a look at this side. And here you've got the rules and you need to fill in the missing bits. So you've put 8 in. Look at what you've done to that number 8, and then you'll get your output. When you've got the output and you're trying to find the input, remember you must find the inverse. On these ones, you've got the input and the output, and you need to find the rule. Here is a function machine. You can have a look at that, and then you need to decide who you agree with and explain your answer. So is Dora correct? Is the rule add 9? Or is Dexter correct? And then here, you need to look at the input and output of these numbers, decide on the rule, and then complete the chart. Okay? Good luck, and I look forward to seeing your work on Dojos.